What's like a spooky sound? That's copyright.
I don't know.
That's
copyright too. It's hard to make original Halloween sounds.
Okay, here we go. Are you ready to start though?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bum, bum, bum.
Isn't that copyright?
All right. Stop saying copyright.
Copyright.
All right. Woo.
Copyright.
All right.
How do you, honestly, it's pretty difficult to make an original spooky sounding song.
Well, it's tough to make any kind of original spooky sound.
Yeah.
That's not lifted from somewhere
Something
else. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild.
Well, because we're just pulling it from something.
How did John Carpenter do it?
Well, yeah. Like, ba, 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 ba. Oh, sorry. But like, that was like 6 notes. I mean, yeah, you'd be like, woo, and you'd be like, well, that's just like a ghost that you get from like Scooby Doo or something.
Who determined that was a ghost sound?
How? These are the questions.
I know.
Welcome back to Spooky Swap.
Spooky Swap.
Well, we're doing content swap, but it's Spooky Swap because it's
spooky season.
It's spooky season. It's October. Yes. Thank you for joining our tirade on
Halloween sounds.
Yeah, spooky sounds. What? How?
Spooky sounds.
Like a vampire is supposed to sound like, I want to suck your blood. Or,
well, that's like based on.
Is that like a Transylvanian
character
thing? Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean, who started that? What was the origin of that?
Okay, embarrassing question. Pretty sure I know the answer. Is Transylvania a real place?
Isn't that like Romania?
I don't know.
Ooh, let me Google this.
See, I saw the Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman, and that was my introduction to Transylvania as a small child. And
boom, I was right. It's Romania.
Transylvania is just Romania?
Yeah, Transylvania, Romania. Says,
it's in Romania.
But wait, it says historic Eastern European region now in Romania. Oh, so maybe it's in Romania.
Okay, because my impression of Transylvania was like that it was a town with like, I don't know, castles. Castlevania.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a place within Romania.
Huh. Okay.
But
So it was like a real
right.
So it was like a real place.
Wait.
Was Dracula
Yeah.
Was Dracula like the character based on any like real life individual? Because I know like Bram Stoker's the one that created Dracula, right? But was he like based on a guy that kind of was creepy?
The town's creepy person?
Yeah, the town's like
I don't know.
creepy castle guy.
I don't know.
Maybe he like, I don't know, liked to drink blood or something.
That's a valid question. I don't know. Maybe we need to watch like a YouTube video on like the history of Dracula.
Yeah. Welcome to a peek into what our relationship is like. We just have these conversations.
Yeah.
We get curious, and then we look up a YouTube video. The other day, we watched a bunch of videos about atoms. Yeah, atoms. They're the building blocks of the universe.
Yeah, because we were like, what makes up? What is an atom? What makes up an atom?
Yeah, we were having like a whole conversation about chemistry
and existence.
And
it started from we were talking about existence.
Yeah, and then it was like, well, I mean, because all these things happen because of atomic bonds or atoms. And then I was like, wait a minute. What's up with atoms? Yeah.
What's up with atoms?
What's up with atoms?
But I was like shook. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, because there's supposed to be like all this space between like where the nucleus. Wait, sorry, to atom. Wait a minute.
Molecule.
The molecule, like. Okay, wait. Protons and neutrons are inside the atom, and then the electrons are the ones that are like buzzing around on the outside. But the distance between them is like a lot, even though it's like very little.
Remember when you called neutrons neurons? I was like, a neuron is a different thing.
Oh wait!
Like neurons
I still
in our
mix
bodies.
this.
You said neutrons.
Did I say neutrons?
You said neutrons.
Thank goodness.
I was like, you mean neutrons?
Anyway,
Science.
Yeah,
Science
these
rules.
are just conversations that we have sometimes.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. I hope you enjoy.
We literally should have an episode because I have a running note of just like questions I've thought of.
I mean, that's what like a bonus episode is for.
I know.
It's just like,
that's what I'm saying.
Just have a conversation.
Yeah. We should do a bonus episodes on the questions that haunt us. These are the questions that haunt me at night.
The questions that haunt us.
The questions that haunt us.
So yeah, I guess today's big question is, can you come up with a spooky sound, an original spooky sound?
Yes, original spooky sound.
That has never been used before in any
media.
Yeah. You can
send it
scream.
To our DM us and Instagram with
we'll post
audio.
all the best ones on our Instagram.
Yeah, with the audio of your original spooky sound.
Yeah, post it with hashtag spooky swap original sound. If anybody does that, you'll get an instant repost. Yeah, 100%. Well, we'll see. For the for our audience of like 12 people. Us. Yeah. So I didn't want to put the numbers out there.
Oh my gosh.
We're posting on YouTube, so you can kind of see it. Like,
we do it out of love for just doing it.
Yeah, no, we enjoy doing this. That's why we do this. We're not doing this for the 12 people that... Well, no, we do it for the 12 people that listen as well. The fact that there is even 12 people, I'm like, hey, if even like 2 people enjoy listening to this, that's like, we just gave 2 people entertainment. If we're giving 12 people entertainment,
I mean, you say 12 people, that's like consistent, but we have like our videos that have had like,
well, I mean, when we did like the RRR video, that got like 10. That one currently has like 11,000 views because we did RRR.
Even what's the one that we did recently?
Psyche K and the Tourist. That one got like 300 views on YouTube.
Oh, I thought it was like 1,000 or something.
Oh, so I mean, 300's still pretty good.
But when's the last time you checked it?
It's been like a week and a half, I think, since I last checked it.
Anyway,
yeah, that's not what we're here to do. But I mean, if you enjoy listening to the podcast, then we hope that you enjoy listening to us just talk, whether it's about the movies or not. But yes, we do have movies. That is what we are here for. This is not a bonus episode, but sneak peek preview into what our next bonus episode might be like, whenever that is.
Us asking dumb questions. They're not dumb questions. They're amazing questions, honestly.
I mean, some of these things you learn in school, like chemistry, and then 12 years later you think about it and you're like, wait, that's wild. Now that I'm like an educated human being, like the concept of chemistry, wow.
Well, like when you're a kid, you're like, this is dumb. I just want to get done with this class. But then when you're an adult, you're like, why are we here? Like how do we exist? Yeah. How did we get created? Yeah. Is there a God?
When you just think about, like, there's a beginning of time. That.
What is time?
Right. That, just the one fact that there is a beginning of time, like we are just like,
and something just happened and all of a sudden existence was created.
That I can't wrap my mind around that. Like what?
But there's so many specifics about how things have played out that it's like, is there a God? Is there a creator? Because how is this all coincidence?
Right. Well, all right. We're asking this is.
I love these conversations.
This is too much bonus episode content.
I know. We'll get to it another time.
I feel like we might be like 10 minutes in already.
That's okay. It's all right. We're having fun. But yeah, let's jump into our actual content for today.
Yeah.
So this past week, just to remind everyone, our theme for the week was spooky monsters.
Yes.
And so for anyone interested in what I've been watching, we started with This Is the End. I watched Teen Wolf. We watched Attack the Block.
Yep.
I watched Monster House. I love Monster House. We watched Scooby-Doo. We watched Troll 2. And then today's movie is A Quiet Place 2. Because I have yet to see A Quiet Place 2. But that
is a good movie. Yeah, I like that movie. So today we are here to talk about Attack the Block and Troll 2.
Yep.
Yes. So, also specifically on Thursday we watched the Scooby-Doo live action movie from 2002. I think it was made.
My favorite live action.
That is a great movie. Like it deserves all the love. Mm-hmm. I was reading that like the cast mostly has disowned the movie, and they shouldn't, because that's a great movie. I love that movie.
Did it say why?
I think they just didn't think it was like a very good movie.
Oh, it's fantastic. Well,
yeah, I think maybe like 20 years later, it's great. Yeah.
Back then, did they think that, or like, do they still think that?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Matthew Lillard does the voice of Shaggy in things.
Yeah,
now.
And I saw a picture when I was like looking up, oh, what's he look like in 2022? Does he still look the same? Because I love him.
Yeah,
and he was like doing some kind of campaign for Scooby-Doo and was like standing with the monster machine, the mystery machine.
Well, because he does the voice of Shaggy and stuff.
Oh, still.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, like, where are we?
So yes, Attack the Block.
Yes. All right. We're here to talk about Attack the Block. This was a movie that you gave me.
Yes.
This movie was released in 2011. It stars John Boyega, a young John Boyega. His character's 15 years old in the movie. It's about this group of it's like a gang of young teenagers living in South London, and the movie starts out with them like mugging this poor woman, and as they're doing that, something shoots out of the sky and just like destroys this car that's right next to them. And so these kids think, oh well, now this car is like open, let's see if we can get any cool stuff from the car. But then this alien jumps out and attacks John Boyega. His character's name is Moses, and he's kind of like the leader of this troop of young ne'er-do-wells. And
what is that?
Ne'er-do-well is a word that means like never do well.
What?
As in like kids that are just people, somebody that's like just a
never heard that before.
No good doer. An evil doer? No. But like, that's like a ne'er-do-well. That's just like a, I don't know. I'm using that word because Dante used it. Like, it's a good word for hooligans. I don't know. So anyway, they're like a group of friends, and John Boyega's the leader, and he gets attacked by this alien that landed inside of this car, and then it like runs off, and all these kids are like, oh, all right, well, we're gonna go kill that alien. All right, that was a horrible British accent.
Yeah, that was
maybe
not good.
I might not be attempting a British accent at all for the remainder of the episode.
I say don't do it.
So yeah, they go and they like find the alien and they kill it, and then they start like walking around with it, and they think to themselves, we might be able to get some money from this because it's an actual alien. So to keep it safe, let's take it to our building's marijuana dealer, because he's got a room that is super secure where he keeps all of his plants, and let's go take it there and keep it there because he'll be able to keep it safe because it's the safest place on the block. And when they do that, they get there, and then basically a whole bunch of aliens come crashing down, and these kids are like, oh yeah, let's go beat up some more aliens because we already killed one of them. It was like nothing. And so they like collect a bunch of weapons, which is like baseball bats, samurai sword one kid has, stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the other.
I wrote some down. I'm trying to think what fireworks. Lots of fireworks in this movie. This is a firework heavy.
It happens
movie.
on a
it all
some
takes
type
place
of holiday.
at night. Oh, really?
It's called I forget what it's called. It's a British holiday. We don't celebrate it here.
Oh,
but
okay.
that's why there's a bunch of fireworks, because it's like this holiday that's happening.
That explains like a lot.
Yeah.
Well, there's just so many fireworks in this movie. So yeah, anyway, they get like their weapons and like, let's go attack these aliens. But then the aliens that come crashing down now are these like pure black aliens with like neon blue teeth and mouths, like the tongue and the teeth are like neon blue, which is a really cool effect. And that's when they realize, like, oh, we are getting in over our heads. And then hijinks ensue. At one point, the woman that they mugged at the beginning of the movie goes to the police, and the police are like, oh, well, like, come with us, and we'll go see if we can find these kids on the street. And they end up finding Moses, John Boyega, and they arrest him. But as that's happening, the police get attacked by one of the aliens, and then, like, basically the woman and John Boyega and his friends join forces because they're like, what is going on? We got to do something about this.
Well, not
and
quite
then
yet.
hijinks ensue.
Not quite yet. So when they
Not
get
quite yet,
they get
yes.
attacked. The police get attacked. The girl who was mugged and John Boyega are in the van. One of John Boyega's friends comes into the van to help them like get away from these aliens.
Yeah.
They get away. They run into a like drug dealer. Like,
there's like
person.
there's a guy who he's not the drug dealer who owns like that safe room.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that like works in there sometimes,
Yeah.
I guess. And he also raps.
Yeah.
And so it's like him and his friend are driving and they bump into like John Boyega and his friend in the police van crash into them. And then that guy, I think his name is Hi-Hats.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah. So then that guy gets upset and he's like, what y'all doing? Sorry, British accent came out again.
What is happening?
And they're like, that's an alien.
Yeah.
Like an alien's coming.
Yeah.
Watch out. And he's like, I almost did the British accent again.
He's
like, it's nothing.
He's upset because
he's
he's upset because he thinks they brought the police to the area.
And
And so he's like mad. He's like, y'all brought the police here. It's making our lives harder because we're trying to like do X, Y, Z.
Right.
And so he's upset, and then his friend gets like eaten by one of the
his friend
aliens.
ends up getting killed by the alien.
Yeah, and so now he's even more upset because he's like, and my friend just died.
Yeah. Now y'all bringing aliens too.
Yeah.
What the heck?
But the reason why I wanted to clarify is because this is not the point where the girl teams up with them. They're basically, Moses and the friend are like, you need to get out of here. Consider your life saved. Like, that dude's crazy. Like, he'll get you or the aliens. So like, go. And so she takes off to go home.
Yeah. I didn't take notes while we were watching the movie. So I just kind of wrote my notes like before this.
Yeah.
So I didn't really write like a play-by-play summary of what happens in the movie because I can't quite fully recall like when everything happens. So I'm giving like a very general summation of things. But yes, they do. It turns out like she and the kids live in the same building, and they see her because they're trying to get into the building to get away from the aliens, and they see her going into her flat, and then they're like, wait a minute, like, we need you to help us because one of the kids got his leg attacked by one of the aliens. It turns out she's a nurse, so she's helping them out, and John Boyega's like, fix him. And she's like, I don't have it.
Stop with the British.
I can't help it. I can't help it. She's like, I don't have the tools. All right. Woo.
It's not good.
She's like, I don't have the right equipment. He needs to go to hospital.
To hospital. I know.
But then that kid ends up like fine for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
she like wraps a pillow around his leg.
Yeah, she wraps, and then he's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, basically, like a lot of just stuff just happens. There's like hallway attacks.
It's mostly in this building that everything is set. All the action happens.
The quote unquote block.
Yeah.
That the movie is taking place at. So yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of fun. Like there's all the kids have like distinct personalities. There's even these 2 9-year-old kids.
They're so adorable.
Named Probs and Mayhem. That's what they want everybody to call them. Yeah, they are super adorable. They're walking around with like a
squirt
super
gun.
soaker that's full of gasoline, and they kill one of the aliens at one point with their super soaker full of gasoline and a firework, and they save this kid who spends the whole movie in a trash can. Yeah.
Honestly, it was the safest place.
Yeah,
because he was fine.
He ends up okay by the end of the movie, right?
Yeah. Some of the teens don't make it.
Yeah, some of them don't
really
make
sad.
it. Yeah. But I mean, overall, I can tell that everybody that was making this movie was probably having a lot of fun making it. You don't see a lot of movies about kids living in South London, especially not at like this age, and you let alone seeing like an alien invasion taking place in just England.
Yeah. And especially a movie like this with kids of color. Like there are kids of color the main characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was I actually felt like this was a really original movie. I had never even like a concept I'd never even like seen before.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. At first I was like, oh, these kids. Oh. Like I was like judging their decisions because I was like, these dumb kids.
Oh my gosh.
But then by the end of the movie I was like, I like these kids. Really I'm sad some of them died. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you'd be sad if kids died, but like you're just, you really you're like, oh man, when any of them kind of die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the great thing about this too is not only is it like a really fun alien movie, but it also like packs in great messages just about like growing up and let's say quote unquote like an unsafe neighborhood or like a neighborhood that's just like depicted in a certain way, and you have these kids who people don't really take into consideration their context and how that's impacting like the things they do and why they feel they need to do something. And so it really kind of gets into that of like what is the lived experience of these kids and how are people viewing them as these like bad kids when they're not bad kids.
Yeah, because I mean all of it culminates in John Boyega blowing up a bunch of them all at once in his apartment
because they were attracted to
the alien they killed at the beginning. They basically figured out was like a female, and then the others are males. And it's kind of like a swarm behavior thing that I guess happens in bugs. There's a whole like character that explains all of it at one point because he studied biology or something.
There's a character that we didn't mention that's like this, like probably in his 20s, like 20-year-old dude who was just like going to the drug dealer to like get weed and ends up just kind of being stuck there because of all the things going on with the aliens. And then
so he explains all of that. So basically because John Boyega has the blood of the female on him, that's why they're chasing him down. And so it culminates in him blowing up all of them in his apartment by like leaving the gas on and like lighting a firework. He survives, but like when he goes into his apartment, or actually the woman goes into his apartment earlier before that, and she's like on a walkie-talkie with him asking like, who do you live with? And he's like, my uncle, but he's not there all the time. Like he comes and goes, mostly goes. So you kind of see like his background of like why he like behaves the way that he does and hangs out with the kids that he does, and because he's like mostly just on his own. So it dives into that. And I mean, even after he blows up all the aliens, the police show up and the police think like, these kids are the reason that all of this stuff happened tonight. And so it does like highlight like, the police have this very negative view of these kids and they instantly think that it was because of them. But the people that they live with, or like all of their neighbors, know that these kids were the ones that were responsible for basically like saving the day during this alien invasion. So I think I ended up just covering all of my notes except for the fact that you can tell that this movie was like made on a pretty cheap budget, but it seems like it was spent like very effectively. Like the VFX are very simple for like what they need. I mean, I would say that most of the VFX is just from because the aliens themselves are for sure like these dudes in these like furry suits, and then the VFX would probably be just like making the color of those suits pitch black, and then probably highlighting the neon teeth a little bit whenever you see the teeth on screen. And it's all sold really well. Like it works.
It can be scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going off that, some of my facts. The director his name is Joe Cornish.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, and he didn't want like a bunch of CGI. He was like, I love practical effects. I want everything to be done practical if that's possible. And so, majority of the movie is completely practical. And in terms of the aliens and like how they look, because no aliens have ever like really been depicted to look the way they looked in this movie.
Yeah, it was pretty original.
So he was inspired by the ring wraiths of Lord of the Rings.
Ooh, good thing you know what those are now.
I know. When I saw that, I was like, oh, you're gonna like that.
Yeah.
And also
that
the
makes
wolf.
A lot of sense.
Yeah, he said, and also the wolf at the start of 300, which I've never seen. 300 is that what it's called?
Yeah, no, I've seen 300.
Yeah.
I don't remember any wolves.
I think it was at the beginning of the movie.
I don't remember the beginning of that movie very well.
I've never seen it, but yeah, so that's where the inspiration came from.
Oh yeah, actually, no, I know what he's talking about. It's talking like the origin of King Leonidas and his when he's growing up. Yeah, no, because he stabs a wolf at one point, and you see it through the shadows or whatever. Yeah,
got you. So yeah, so before I get into my other facts, reading these facts like warmed my heart. I have never seen a process like this be done in a movie that wasn't like a historical movie.
Oh, what do you mean?
Here's what I mean by that. So basically, well, for starters, the idea for this movie came out of the fact that Joe Cornish was mugged himself in South London, and that by some kids, and that like experience stuck with him. And then 10 years later, he created this movie. And the best thing I read about this movie is that he actually went to some youth centers in South London and talked to like the kids that would go to those centers, because he didn't want to stereotype these characters. He didn't want to negatively portray these characters. He wanted to know more about like kids in the area, like their situations, their context, the things that like are around them in their environment, how they interact with one another. And also he wanted to know like how they would interact with aliens. So he like asked them like, oh, if aliens came, like what weapons would you use? And they would tell him. And these things literally got put directly into the movie.
I mean, that's good market research. Or not market research, but just like writing research.
It didn't seem like he was doing it of like, oh, I just want to write this. Like I'm trying to write this. Let me like ask. Right. It's like he really cared about how he was going to portray these like very complex kids. Yeah. And I appreciate that someone who is like also who's a white man who took the time to do that and like wanted to be very careful in how they captured this experience and captured this like group of kids, because I can't say that a lot of people in Hollywood would take the time to do that. And like seem like they were like they meant it and like really take what they learned. Like he recorded everything in these conversations. There are things that the kids said that are directly in the script. I hope they're credited, by the way. I would want to go back and see to make sure these kids that he talked to were credited.
I don't know.
I would hope so. Or at least the youth center is credited. But
maybe the youth center.
Yeah, but some of the things that he heard from these interviews that ended up in the movie was you'd be better off calling the Ghostbusters. I don't know if you remember the kid who said that in the movie. So that was a line that was directly from one of the kids he talked to.
That's funny.
And then he talked to a girl and said, oh, if the alien looked like this, like, what do you think? And she said, I wouldn't want to touch it. I don't want to get chlamydia. And that was one of the girl characters in the movie says that.
Does say that,
yeah. So I just thought it was really cool. It's like, I don't know, in school we were always talking about like community-based research, like community-based participatory research. And that's what like this process of him doing these interviews kind of made it feel like. 'Cause it's like these kids were a part of the filmmaking process and a part of like this script and everything like that. And I just appreciated that. Yeah.
Love that.
So in terms of the soundtrack, talking about spooky sounds, the soundtrack for this movie was heavily inspired by John Carpenter.
Oh, well, I mean, if you're gonna pull inspiration from anywhere for your spooky thing, that's a pretty good place to start. Yeah.
Right. The website I was looking at did like a whole deep dive into like how Joe Cornish was like talking about John Carpenter and like what he pulled inspiration from, but it was a little too heavy on the music info. I was like, yeah. You can read about that if you want, but yeah. And then the last sort of note that I have is that there is an Attack the Block 2 in the works.
Saw that.
Hey, why are you looking at all this?
I wasn't trying to.
It's no fun.
I just like stumbled across it because I was like, "Oh, who's Joe Cornish?
That's
what has
for
he
me
written?"
to tell you.
Yeah, that was my bad. He helped write Ant-Man.
Yeah, I know. I saw.
Yeah.
That's
I saw that.
No looking up stuff anymore.
I was. It was because I didn't take notes and I needed a little like boost to remember some stuff. So I was looking at the synopsis, and on my way there, I encountered that there is an Attack the Block 2 in pre-production right now.
Yes. Anyway, it's being co-written by John Boyega and Joe Cornish. John Boyega will be playing Moses again.
I also saw that.
Yeah, but there will be, I don't know if any of the other kids will be. Literally, I'm so annoyed.
My bad.
It makes my job less fun.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if the other kids will be a part of it, the ones that didn't die. But there will be new characters, of course. So
I mean, I feel like I've seen sequels. Like, let's use Evil Dead 2 as an example.
Yeah.
Where like it's like they could soft reboot it. They could call it Attack the Block 2, and those kids that died in the first one maybe just like aren't dead for the sequel.
I would not like that.
And they could just do that.
No.
And it's like, let's just bring the whole gang back together and let's just do it again, but different as a sequel now. So you want those kids who are such great actors who died in that first movie to get no chance to come back for the second movie because they died? Another
fact that I didn't write down.
I guess that's your answer, folks.
No, I don't want that. The kids who are our main characters, they were like newbies to acting, a lot of them. Joe Cornish found them at like their school or in like maybe like drama department. And so they were kind of still learning how to act as they were on the job.
I mean, they all did a great job.
They did a phenomenal job.
It felt very, I don't know, authentically acted.
Yeah. It was very great.
Like these kids, were they acting or were they just having real conversations with themselves? You know, that's what it felt like.
Yeah. I don't know if if some of them continue to act. I know some did, but I don't know who did and who didn't. But I do feel like some of them didn't continue acting. This was just like a one-time thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, John Boyega was the one that like.
Well, yeah, he like blew up. But there's another guy who I saw him at like on like Comic-Con pictures. So I'm like, he must be doing something. Like, he must have been doing something else.
I mean, Nick Frost was in this movie.
Who was that?
The guy that played like the drug dealer who owned the room. He's in all of those like Simon Pegg movies. What? No.
Is he the gerbil dude?
What are you talking? Oh,
the rat.
Peter Pettigrew. No.
It kind of looks like it.
I can see where you could put that together, but no. Nick Frost he does all those Simon Pegg movies like Hot Fuzz.
Oh, yeah. Well, Joe Cornish, like, I think wrote on Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, and Hot Fuzz and like Shaun of the Dead were also written and directed by Edgar Wright, who was attached to be the original director for Ant-Man. And like, I mean, he's also got a writing credit, I'm sure. So yeah, I would say it's safe to say that Joe Cornish and Edgar Wright are probably friends. Yeah.
But that's all the notes that I have. I love this movie. It's so fun. It's just a blast. The characters are great. I love those kids. Yeah, it's just great. And knowing like what the director did. I mean, I hate to give him so much praise because it's like you should like consult with kids so you don't harmfully depict them. But it's so rare to see that happen. So props to him for wanting to really make sure he did it right.
Yeah. I mean, It was like, I don't know, it was a very charming movie. Mm-hmm. It was like charmingly British. I know. It made me want to go watch more British stuff.
Oh my gosh. I used to in high school stay watching E4. My Mad Fat Diary, loved that show.
I don't know anything that you just said. Skins, I know Skins. Yeah.
Like there was another show that I loved. Oh my gosh, I just learned that freaking Chewing Gum is like making episodes. I didn't even know they were making episodes right now. Chewing Gum's great.
What you're talking about?
They're British shows.
I know Sherlock. You know Sherlock?
Never watched it.
Luther with Idris?
Never watched it.
That one's a good one. I actually really like that show.
Is that British or is it just
No. It is British.
Like he's just British.
No. It's British. Takes place in Britain.
But is it a British show? You
yes,
can have
it is
an American
a British show. No. It is a British show.
Okay.
Idris Elba made like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's really good.
No, I like the British teen shows.
Yeah, well, I like the British adult shows.
I still have yet to finish my Mad Fat Diary. I need to.
Yeah. There is an episode of Doctor Who. I don't watch a lot of Doctor Who. I've seen some of it. It's kind of trippy. But there is an episode of Doctor Who that I would love to show you because it's like pretty scary. But I think I've asked you this before and you're like, I don't want to. It sounds too scary.
I don't like scary things.
Yeah, it's pretty good though.
All nightmares.
Yeah. All right.
Which leads us into our next movie.
Nightmares. Oh yeah. No, that perfectly.
I was having some weird dreams.
Perfectly relates. Yes. So last night we watched
Troll 2.
Yep. Little movie.
And it was
like actually little movie.
Wild. Wild. I don't even know where to start. So Troll 2. What year was it made? Because I didn't.
1990.
1990. Oh yeah. I said that last night.
Yeah, we had a whole conversation about that.
Yeah. So Troll 2 came out in 1990. However, it is very much an 80s movie. Very 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 1990, so it's not like the 80s were so far before that.
It's not like
I know
that was just everything that
everything
was
stopped
before that.
At
yeah.
the 90s.
Right. Oh, it's 90s.
Yeah, but you know, it's like, what's that transition? Like, when does 80s culture turn into 90s culture? Like, how far do you have to get into the 90s before you're like, the 80s have passed?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, so when you think of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, do you think of the 80s or the 90s?
The 90s.
It was made in 89.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But then when I look at this movie, I'm like, 80s.
Yeah. Well, Ninja Turtles. Okay, wait. Yeah.
But then again, I've never I've never watched Ninja Turtles.
The vibe of this movie is very 80s. Yeah. I mean, Ninja Turtles, okay, I'm pretty sure it was made in 89. But yeah, that's very much like a 90s thing because all the stuff that came out, like the big stuff was like in the 90s.
So then I guess the cutoff really is 89, 90.
Maybe it's 91.
That's wild. Like, when did the early 2000s get into like?
I think the 2000s really hit their stride in like 2002.
Yeah.
And then 2005 was like 2005 was a wild year, and then like 2007. I feel like we can all point to that time. That's like iPhone, Facebook time. Well, Facebook could be before that.
iPhone
for some
was
people.
Like so new though.
Yeah.
Like it was like not even the iPhone. It was like the
iPod. That was like 2003.
Yeah. That looked like an iPhone, but it just like didn't make calls. You know what?
The iPod Touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had an iPod Shuffle.
I had an iPod Shuffle and then an iPod Nano. The Nano was tight. I really liked the Nano.
Scrolling on like
yeah,
the
thing. Yeah. All right. Anyway, Troll 2.
yes. So Troll 2. So basically, I don't even know where to start. Basically, we start off with seeing this little boy who's in bed, and his grandpa named Seth is reading him a story.
His grandpa named Seth.
They call him Grandpa Seth
throughout the movie.
Grandpa Seth is reading him a story, and this story is about these trolls who were attacking.
Nope, you're already wrong.
What do you mean?
It's about goblins.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Whatever. These goblins. Yes. The movie's called Troll 2, but they refer to these creatures as goblins.
Yes.
So it's about
I'll explain that in a second.
It's about these goblins who are trying to eat this boy. And the boy is like running away from them. He at some point like stumbles or something like that, and a woman comes up to him, has him like drink this thing or eat this thing.
Solid confusion there, because it is like the grossest.
Yeah, it's like green like pudding. Yeah. And he's like mesmerized by her. Is like, yes, sure, I'll do that. Does that? Turns out she's a troll a goblin in disguise, and the goblins eat him. And so that's the story that Grandpa Seth is reading. And Grandpa Seth is like, don't trust these goblins. Like, they're bad. They will eat you. This is, you don't want to be around goblins. And then, like, Grandpa Seth is really pushing this message.
Yeah, he's really pushing the goblin, anti-goblin agenda at this kid.
Yeah. And so then the kid's like, okay, Grandpa Seth. Mom comes in to be like, it's time for bed. And we realize Grandpa Seth doesn't exist. I mean, he existed. He was dead. And so this kid is just it's just this imagining
hallucinated his seeing his grandpa.
Yeah. And the mom's like, oh no, are you seeing Grandpa again?
Yeah.
He's been dead. You need to get over it. Like
yeah, the kid's like, the doctor says he's an illusion of my subconscious. I get it. Like, who wrote this?
This kid is traumatized.
Yeah.
It's traumatized.
I mean, it's just like with the movie, having seen the movie now and looking back on it, I'm like, he clearly loves his grandpa. So I can understand.
And his grandpa is just like scaring the crap out of him because all his grandpa cares about are these freaking goblins.
Yeah. Well, okay, we'll get there. But up until this point in the movie, which is like 5 minutes in, I just want to say you forgot to highlight the amazing opening credits number when the goblins are running through the woods in this story. And this amazing like synthesizer music is playing.
The music does not match the tone of the scene at all.
It's amazing.
It's like fun music. It's like, and they're like, we're gonna eat you.
Troll 2.
And these trolls are ugly. So the costuming is just, they're ugly. I mean, they're scary, honestly. Some of the faces are really scary.
They are like genuinely pretty scary.
Yeah, they're just really gross looking. Also, on the line of makeup, so this girl, I have to point this out because it was bothering me so much. I kept thinking about it the whole movie.
Oh.
The girl who gives this boy like that green pudding sludge mix, they gave her freckles, but it's just like it's like they took a brown marker, Crayola marker, and just dotted the heck out of her face. And it's so bad and also unnecessary. Like, who did this?
Oh.
Makeup department fired.
Yeah, once I give you the context of the making of, once we're done kind of going through, it'll all make sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Okay. So mom's worried about his name is Joshua, by the way, Josh. Yeah. Mom's worried about Josh, goes to her husband's like, he's seeing Grandpa Seth again. And then the dad's just like, I used to have an imaginary friend. And her mom's like, okay, but it wasn't your dead grandpa.
Yeah.
And so, that was just kind of a conversation happen. Simultaneously, we see his sister, whose name is Holly. She's working out in her room, and her boyfriend comes to the window. And we learn that the family is going to be moving out into the country the next day.
Are they permanently moving, or is it supposed to be like a vacation thing? I don't think
it's permanent. I think it's like a vacation because they're swapping homes with the family. So the family who lives in this home in the country, in Nilbog, which we'll get to that in a second. Yeah. They're out in Nilbog. They're going to come live in their house. They're going to go live in the family's house on the farm.
Yeah.
And so it seems like it's a temporary kind of like summertime thing. We're going to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Holly's talking to her boyfriend. Her boyfriend's like always hanging out with this like group of boys. And she's like, stop hanging out with them. Like, I need you to be serious about me. And like, you're going to come live with me and my family. And he's like, yeah, I'll be there. And so, yeah.
And this girl's acting.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. This is how she said her lines. She was like, what did she say? She was like,
Well, I wrote one down.
Oh, yeah.
Who wanted to eat you, little brother?
Oh, yeah. No, my favorite was when she was talking about her boyfriend, because she was like, we're going to go live out in the country now, and my boyfriend's going to come with us, and he's going to live with us forever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? That's how she would talk.
There's a scene later where she says, like, he's part of the family now.
I know. I was like, girl. First of all, he was trash.
Yeah.
Like, get over him. So it's the next day. They are all packed into the car to head to Nilbog. Holly's upset because her boyfriend never showed, and they had waited for an hour and 30 minutes to wait for him. Mm-hmm. He never came. So the dad's like, shut up. He wasn't going to come. He only cares about his friends. He doesn't care about you.
He was a good for nothing.
Yeah. He's like, get over it, Holly. And Holly's like, but he loves me. Like, yada, yada. And so then the mom like gets mad that they're both arguing. And she's like, Joshua, sing us a song.
Sing us that song I really like. How does it go again?
And he's like, I don't feel like singing. And then she's like, just sing it. And he's like, row, row, row your boat.
It's like, it's row, row your boat.
And I was like, literally, what is this family? This is the weirdest thing I'd ever.
Weird.
Yeah, they're so weird. Like they're the ones that make this creepy. Not even the goblins. It's like how all the humans are acting is what makes this so strange.
Oh, I'll get there. I'll explain some of that.
Yeah. So anyway, the family makes it out to the country. They swap keys with the other family, and the family is like, we left you some food. Well, they don't even say that. They just walk in and see that they left food, and they're like, Southern hospitality, how sweet.
Yeah, but the family that they house swapped with, like,
is weird.
They're like robots.
Yes. Oh, and I forgot, right before they left, the kid, there was a little boy that was a part of their family, throws Josh a baseball. And hold on, I have a note on.
Oh, yeah.
I have a note on what it said.
I remember what it said.
Okay, what did it say?
It says, eat up before we eat you.
Yes. Literally. Okay, I found my notes. I got lost in it for a second. So that's what it said. So, like, this kid's like, oh, no. And the kid's starting to see Grandpa Seth, because Grandpa Seth is like...
Joshua?
Yeah, Joshua. Yeah. He's starting to see Grandpa Seth.
Oh, yeah. He sees him in the window while they're about to eat.
Yeah, and Grandpa Seth is like, don't let them eat that. It's the goblins. They're gonna, like, if they eat that, they're gonna eat you.
He's like, you have to stop your family from eating.
Yeah.
And all of the food is, like, green.
Yeah.
But it's, like, pastries.
It's, like,
with,
cakes.
Like, green frosting.
Yeah.
Or, like, this green...
goo inside.
Liquid.
Yeah.
Or, goo.
Or in the drink,
like, the drink is, like, a green liquid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird. And so...
they couldn't have gotten, like, vegetables?
I don't know.
Like, real green food?
Nothing makes sense in this movie.
That's
so.
true. That's true.
But anyway, so Grandpa's like, I'll give you 30 seconds. And, like, pauses time. Which, like, what?
I would love to understand the extent of Grandpa's powers in this movie.
Literally.
Because Grandpa, he stops time. But up until this point, we're like, well, he's supposed to be... this kid's hallucination.
Yeah.
But I guess
he's
we're
doing,
supposed
like,
to be
physical things.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh,
he's
yeah.
Like a spirit.
Wait, on the way there, they see a guy who's wants to hitchhike and get a ride, and
Josh sees him as Grandpa
Seth, and the sign says stop them. Mm-hmm. And the kid's like, Josh is like, I have to pee, and he stops and he goes and talks to Grandpa Seth, and then when the family shit comes up, they're like, what are you doing?
Like, why are you talking to this dude?
And the guy's like, so are you giving me a ride or not?
Yeah.
And it's like, what? And they're like, come on, get in the car already.
Grandpa Seth is literally traumatizing this kid.
Yeah.
And he's already traumatized.
Right. And Grandpa Seth is, as we said earlier, dead.
Yeah. So in order to get the family to stop, to not eat this food, Josh pees on everything.
Yeah. There's no clean way to say that. He's like, I must do it.
Yeah.
And that was his solution. Like, if I'm gonna get them to not eat the food, I gotta pee on the food.
Yeah. So at this point in the movie, the family is in this house. Josh is seeing Grandpa. Grandpa's like, you guys need like tell them to go back home. Everyone needs to go home. This is not safe. There's goblins. But we haven't like seen goblins yet.
Yes.
In terms of like at Nilbog.
Can I quickly highlight just like how the dad reacts to the kid peeing on the food?
Yeah.
Because the dad is like really emphasizing like the whole Southern hospitality. Like he also like says hospitality, like got to get all those syllables said correctly.
But also he's like, the dad's so weird because he's like, we're going to be country folks now. Like he's so like bent about being a country person.
But I want to make sure to highlight this because I found out that this line is actually like a famous, now infamous line or whatever.
Yeah.
Because, well, the dad like takes Joshua up to his room because he's mad that he like peed on the food, and he yells like, "You can't piss on hospitality." And Joshua's like, "What are you gonna do to me?" And the dad like he starts adjusting his belt, and I don't know about you, I started thinking like, "Oh no, he's gonna hit him with the belt. That's not good." But instead,
well, even the mom says like, "Don't hit him.
Don't hit him." Yeah.
Yeah.
And the dad tightens his belt. And he's like, "I'm tightening my belt by one loop to avoid hunger pangs, and your sister and your mother will have to do the same. I know what it's like to grow up hungry, and you don't. We'll see which one of us lasts longer." But he's like, the way he's delivering it is so like, "Well, you'll see how it is." And it's like, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if I should be giving a fun fact about that now or.
I mean, go for it. We're here.
Well. No. Actually, it's relevant to all the behind the scenes. So,
okay.
All right, save it, but remember that for later.
Yeah. So, on the side, aside from focusing on Josh and his family, the boyfriend, Holly's boyfriend, he and his friends had gotten a camper to drive to Nilbog to, like, meet up with Holly. And so they're just, like, sleeping and staying in this camper not too far from Holly's new house.
Yes.
And so this is where we start to see trouble really happening because one of the friends spots a woman who's like running, and he's like, "Oh, like she needs help." And so he runs after her. And she is like coughing up green stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Goblins."
Yeah, she's like, "Goblins are chasing me."
She's like, "Goblins are trying to get me." And he's like, "What?" And so then he's like, "I'll talk to them."
Yeah.
And he like goes to the goblins. He's like, "Go away.
Yeah.
Don't do blah, blah, blah."
I'll show you what's what.
Yeah. And they're like, "We're going to eat you." So they throw a big old like spear right into his like shoulder. And he's like, "Oh, they hit me. Like they got me." And so in order to escape, they run off into this house of this woman who is like a witch. And they're like, "We need help. Where's the closest hospital?" And she's like, "I'll help you. I can create, this food that you can have, and that'll help you." And so they drink this drink, and the girl starts coughing up more green stuff, and she's just like dying. And she ends up turning into just a pile of green sludge, and all the trolls come in and eat her.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like, she's like a plant now, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just green sludge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the boy's like, "Oh no, they're eating her, and they're gonna eat me."
And then he goes, "Oh my God."
Yes. And so.
Just real quick. First time I even heard of this movie was because there was a YouTube video posted of that exact sequence where he's like, "They're eating her, and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my God!" Like that video has been viewed so many times. It's like, it's one of the clips that you will find when you go on like a rabbit hole of like hilariously bad movie clips on YouTube. But yeah, that's a big one. It's got like millions of views. It's very well known. So that was like that was my first impression of this movie, was that whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that really kicks off the movie. So this like witch is like the witch and the townspeople, they're in human form, but they are goblins. And so it's this whole scheme of trying to lure, the boyfriend and his friends and the family to the witch's house so that they can all be eaten.
Yes.
And so we see different people, like one of the other friends tries to go to like the market to get some food, and then like they end up giving him something to drink.
No, a police officer picks him up to give him a ride, and the police officer is like, here's some food.
Yeah, here's a sandwich.
And he gives him like
this nasty looking
2 pieces of like a hamburger bun with like green stuff between.
Yeah.
The kid's like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would not eat that.
Yeah.
That looks disgusting.
Yeah. But then even at the market, they gave him, I think, a drink.
Yeah, they gave him
something.
I
don't know.
Oh, they gave him milk. They give him
Nilbog.
They give him special Nilbog milk.
Yeah, and so he's like,
which is disgusting.
Yeah, he's like feeling sick. He ends up stumbling into the witches. Finds that his other friend is now a tree, like it's like turning into a tree.
The oh my god one. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's trying to rescue them both, but no luck there. I guess they both end up just paying the price. I guess.
Do they?
I don't even remember.
I think both of them die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they tried to drag him.
Remember the witch chops up the kid who's the tree and then serves it to the other kid.
Yeah, so those kids got killed.
Yeah.
I did read that the kid who was becoming a tree had to stand still. Like his shoes were like nailed to the ground so he could stand still, and he had to stay like that for 14 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That seems unethical.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How do you go to the bathroom? Could he not just like take off his shoes to like run to the bathroom?
Oh man. Yeah. Well, poor guy.
Yeah.
Well, he got immortalized with that YouTube clip, so.
Oh my gosh. So yeah. So cut back to the family. Josh and the dad decide to go to the store because they have no food. No one's at the store. They're like, this is weird. Josh stumbles across, like goes into this building and sees like a meeting with a bunch of people in there. Yeah. And the family who they were supposed to have swapped homes with is still in Nilbog, and they're there. And so he's like, what the heck? His skateboard, he accidentally knocks his skateboard over. They find him and they grab him. And
by the face.
Yeah. They grab him. They tried to make him eat this thing, and at this point, he realizes they're goblins. He's like, they're goblins. They're trying to eat me. Oh, my gosh. Dad finds him and is like, let go of my son. What are you trying to do? They let go of him, and Josh is like, they're goblins. Like, they're trying to eat us. And the dad's just like, he doesn't know what to do.
Still not believing it.
Yeah. So he's just like, don't touch my kid. And that was like that.
Yeah.
But somehow, all those people end up back at their house.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we felt bad about the misunderstanding earlier, and we made you a bunch of food. Everybody from Nilbog is here to celebrate with you. Yeah. And they're like, oh,
party!
Yay.
Woo!
Yeah. This is when I start to like question my own sanity watching this movie, because I'm like, none of this is making sense.
I stopped taking notes
because
weird. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to take notes. I'm like,
how could this even be made?
Yeah.
Who is this for?
Yeah. So basically, I'm going to sum this up real quick because there's too many details to get into. But basically, they're at this party. They realize that these are goblins. The goblins are trying to get them. And I don't even know how they saved the day. I don't even know how they survived.
Yeah. At one point, they picked up Holly's boyfriend, Elliot.
Yeah.
And that's when they're like, oh, what's Elliot doing here? And she's like, he's part of the family now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they start to realize, oh, no, okay, wait. Elliot's outside because his grandpa Seth is
You mean
appearing.
Josh?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Sorry. Joshua is outside because his grandpa Seth is telling him, like, don't let your family eat the food, again. Yeah. And then the, like, main townsperson guy comes out and is like, I'm sending you back to hell.
And the best part is, like, Grandpa Seth is, like, dying again.
Yeah.
In this scene. Like, he's, like, really hurt. And Josh, like, the first thing he says is, Grandpa, are you in hell?
Yeah, he's like, are you really in hell?
I'm dying. I was like, that's all he's concerned about.
Yeah. And his grandpa's like, no, but I know how to bring back someone who is in hell or something. And then he sets fire to the townsperson guy, who then burns to death.
Yeah.
But then when they put out, when they put out the fire, he's actually a goblin. I was about to say troll.
Yeah.
He's actually a goblin. And then that's when the family's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then the police officer's like, he was one of us.
Yeah.
And you killed him.
Yeah.
And that's when the family's like, oh, we're in for it now. They go back into the house instead of the car for some reason. I did write down that the guitar is going super hard. And it's like this synthy song, and it's like, but then the guitar is like, it's like, wow. Mm-hmm. But then Holly, the daughter, is like, well, we need Grandpa to help us. Like, what are we supposed to do? Hold a seance?
Oh, yeah.
And Josh was like,
yes.
You're a genius, big sister.
And I'm like, not only was this kid seeing his dead grandpa for forever, his dead grandpa is traumatizing him, and he just knows how to perform like a seance. Seance?
Yeah.
I'm like, this kid, like, what? No one's concerned about this?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, they're doing their whole seance thing. I don't even remember what is the outcome of that. Yeah.
I don't remember how it ended at all.
No, wait. Joshua gets teleported to the witch's house. Mm-hmm. Wild. Okay. Yeah, he gets teleported to the witch's house. His grandpa is there still, because his grandpa teleported him there because they brought him back with a seance after he died a second time.
This is the wall thing.
And then, this is when they're doing the wall thing, because there's this, I don't even know. There's this wall that has
a whole story behind it as to why it can help them.
Yeah, there's like a wall with a crack in it with a light coming through the crack. Mm-hmm. And Grandpa just tells Joshua, like, you need to get your whole family here, and you all just need to touch this wall. And once you do that, then everything will be solved. Yeah, all the goblins will go away.
Yeah.
And then this is when Grandpa's like, I'm disappearing now. Goodbye forever. And this is when he like actually leaves the movie.
He dies like 5 times
in this movie. Yes. And the witch is not at her house at this moment, because at this moment there's another one of Elliot, the boyfriend's friends, mm-hmm. is still at the camper, mm-hmm. and he's watching TV, and then the witch goes
to seduce
him with some corn on the cob. And that's...
But like, why?
I don't know how to explain this.
She puts the corn in his mouth. He's been like thirsty for a woman.
The whole movie. He's like, where are the girls?
Yeah, she comes, does her little, like, oh, I'm so sexy. Puts the corn in his mouth, and
they're like, eating it popcorn at the same time. Yeah, like they're like making out but eating the corn, and then popcorn starts just
flying
like
everywhere.
And all that just kind of culminates in him being covered in popcorn, and he spits out the popcorn, and he's just covered in popcorn, like literally everywhere, tons of popcorn, and he goes, no more popcorn. It's like, what?
Like, what was the reason for that scene anyway? What's the purpose of the witch? Because that's what I'm confused on. Like, sure, she like kind of helps the goblins like get food, but like, and did they ever resolve, like, what happened to the witch? I don't remember.
I think she just dies, right?
Like, at one point, she gets her arm chopped off, but it just grows back.
She puts it into the light in the wall, and then it grows back with her nail polish perfectly intact,
Magic.
Yeah, well, I mean, they all, like... The whole family gets to her house. They touch the wall, and then all the goblins go away. Like they do that really neat, lightning bolt effect.
Thing. That's all I remember is the flashes. There's just constant flashes of the same lightning bolt. Image. Okay. Yeah, I did not remember the ending of that at all.
This movie's a wild ride.
Yeah. But then
wait. At one point, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna wrap up because I remember the very, very end.
I remember Joshua stops a whole bunch of the goblins by eating a double-decker bologna sandwich.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But like, what? I forgot about that.
The goblins are going for Joshua because I guess,
and they were like, the fat,
they don't,
the cholesterol.
Yeah, they don't want them to. They want the family to be fasting. Like they want them to be eating
like healthy
foods because they're gonna eat them.
Yeah.
So when he pulls out a bologna sandwich from his bag, which I guess he's just had with him for the whole movie.
Yeah.
And he's like, a double-decker bologna sandwich. And so they're like, no, don't eat that.
Yeah. The witch is like, the fat, the cholesterol, no.
Yeah.
And he's like, bologna sandwich. But also, like, their whole family was starving for like 3 days.
And he just had a bologna sandwich. Yeah. I don't get that at all.
That's dumb.
So... yeah, I mean, everything gets destroyed.
Yeah, they go back home.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, great. Everything's great. But then Josh starts hearing goblin whispers. Yep. And it's like, oh, no, they're not dead. And then the movie's over.
Well, his mom ate an apple. And then once he starts hearing voices, she said she was going to go take a shower. And he goes to the shower. Oh, yeah. And it's just like green liquid went down the shower drain.
And now his mom's just dead.
Yeah, mom's just dead. She went down the drain. Which is like every kid's worst fear, right?
First grandpa Seth and now his mom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I highly recommend watching this movie.
It's a trip.
It is. Yeah. It's so... if everything that we just said to describe this movie sounds bonkers, that's because
I was like I felt like none of that made sense.
Right. And that's what makes it such an interesting and entertaining movie to watch.
Yeah. And production-wise, it's like on the level of like Birdemic.
Yeah. It's a bad movie. Like it's considered one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah.
But it's also like The Room, it's considered like one of the best worst movies ever made. It's so bad that it's incredibly entertaining.
Yeah.
So I guess now would be a good time to get into the facts.
That's all I have.
Okay, so all of my facts are coming from the IMDb trivia section on this movie. So apparently the cast showed up for a casting call for extras and ended up cast in the lead roles. So that might explain.
Very rare that happens.
That might explain a lot about the acting. So this movie was actually an Italian production. The director and his wife are Italian. They co-wrote the movie together, and they only spoke Italian. So the screenplay was written in really poor English, and the actors, they suggested ad-libbing some of their lines to make the dialogue flow better.
Yeah. Having newbie actors ad-lib.
Well, it doesn't matter because they were just like, oh, like this is what was written. Well, let us kind of like play off of what you guys wrote so that we can make it feel more like a real conversation.
Yeah.
But the director was like, no. And he insisted that they read their lines exactly as they were written. So those two facts.
Yeah.
The fact that these are like
everything.
Actors that were trying to be extras, not actors.
Yeah.
And them having to read this word for word script that was written by Italians that didn't speak English.
Yeah.
I hope that explains just about everything.
I mean, given that they didn't speak any English, then the script's really not that bad. Like, because there was nothing that, I mean, other than like, it just seemed like bad acting as like reading off the script. The actual words, it's not like anything was like confusing. Well, it's just like things that wouldn't be said.
Right. Well, apparently the entire crew also only spoke Italian.
How the heck did the actors like figure out anything?
So I have a fact on that. The only person on the crew that could speak Italian and English was the costume designer, this woman Laura Gemser, and she acted as the on-set translator between the director and the crew and the actors.
She was working overtime.
Yeah.
That poor woman.
Yeah. Apparently she was also like known in Italy as like she kind of played this like character in multiple recurring roles, and I think it's supposed to be like Italian kind of like softcore pornography movies, I guess. That came up in the trivia. Yeah, and then she's like costume designer on this movie, and she's like the on-set translator.
Right, she's got all the skills.
What a story! Yeah,
all the skills.
So yeah, good for her, because I feel like she had to be directing the movie at that point. Really,
I said multifaceted. I meant multi-talented.
Sure, all of it. So apparently the director doesn't think this movie is as bad as people think it is. So the cast did a reunion Q&A, and apparently the director showed up and crashed it and started heckling the cast, calling them liars, and he was ejected from the event.
Where was the event at?
I don't know. I didn't dig that deep.
Yeah.
So the dad...
the actors, they're like, this is a horrible
movie. They're like, we don't get how this movie's gonna work because the crew speaks Italian.
But I mean, like, at this event, they were
They were like, we they're aware this movie's bad. Yeah. So apparently, also the dad was casted in the role because of the energy that he had when he was delivering the "you can't piss on hospitality" line. And apparently he had to do that in a room of 9 smoking Italians who didn't speak English. And they they casted him not speaking English just because they liked his energy.
I mean, he gave that scene his all.
He did.
That was the most energy in any of the scenes.
He did, because in all the other scenes, he's like, "Oh yeah, he'll grow out of it."
Yeah.
And then that scene,
that
he's like, "You can't piss on hospitality."
Yeah, he put his emotions in that one.
Also, the director's wife, also co-wrote the movie. She got the idea to write the movie after a bunch of her friends decided to become vegetarians all at once.
She's like, this movie was inspired by my vegetarian friends. I was
yes.
like, what?
So originally they wanted to sell the movie as a movie called Goblins, but the distributors in the U.S. were like, we're not going to be able to sell this movie as a standalone project. So this other movie, Troll, it was bad, but it was mildly successful. Let's just sell this as Troll 2.
So it's not even related to the first Troll?
Not related at all to the first Troll. And in this whole movie, they don't refer to anything as trolls because it's goblins.
Yeah.
Oh, also Nilbog spelled backwards is goblin. I don't know if we highlighted that.
Forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
So what is Troll? What is that movie?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
They literally just gave a movie the name Troll 2.
Yes.
And it's just a standalone movie that has nothing to do with trolls.
Yes, but it is marketed as the sequel to that, despite not being actually connected at all.
What?
It's like the studio was just, or not even the studio, but just like the distributors were probably like, well, we did distribute this Troll movie a few years ago.
Yeah.
So let's, Troll 2, it's close enough. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. So the film was shot in Morgan, Utah. And
I was meant to ask that.
Yeah. And they held a Troll 2 festival in 2007 where the mayor gave the director a key to the city. Right?
This is like the biggest joke. Like, what?
Right?
What?
Right. Like, none of this...
That's so embarrassing. And this man really thinks it's a masterpiece.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he thinks it's a masterpiece.
Well, he thinks it's not bad.
But, right.
That seems messed up.
Yeah. And let's see. Final fact, filmed in 3 weeks.
Hey. I mean,
that seems like efficient movie making.
Right. I'm shook to make a movie of this quality in 3 weeks.
Well, I mean, I could probably make a movie of this quality in 3 weeks.
I mean, a lot happens.
You got to get the people together.
You said filmed in 3 weeks. So
filmed in 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, editing and all that.
Yeah,
post-production stuff.
But like, golly, that's everything I had. But yeah, I mean, this for people who love cinema and movies, this is like an essential watch. Like, you gotta watch Troll 2 because it's like The Room. And it's just like, there are movies out there that are so bad that they are incredibly fun to watch.
This was a lot more enjoyable than The Room.
You think so?
Yeah, like The Room is boring compared to this. This is like, whoa.
I will say that this was, I mean, I've seen The Room multiple times. The Room is definitely like is I guess bigger than maybe Troll 2 would be. Mm-hmm. But I would say
like The Room, it's like, oh, it's bad acting and like these scenes are dumb.
Yeah.
But like this movie is like wild.
This is like this is somehow a bit more ridiculous.
Yeah. Action packed.
Yes. But also watch The Room. It's also Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would go back and rewatch The Room. I would probably go back and watch this with a group of friends.
Yeah. I mean, I would rewatch The Room with a group of friends, but both. If you're having a bad movie marathon, they both need to be on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's that.
Well, yeah.
What a wild week. Lots of fun stuff we watched. All right, so let's do assignments. So next week, our theme is murders and hauntings. So we're going to get into some slasher films, some like ghost things.
Well, we're not going to get into slasher films, but we're going to be watching
my assignment might be a little bit slasher.
Oh, yeah, wait, what is your assignment?
Okay, so I'm assigning you The Roommate with Leighton Meester.
Oh, yeah, I remember this movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it,
Yeah, Leighton Meester and the girl who was in 500 Days of Summer, and her name was Autumn. What's her name?
She's at the end of that movie. How am I supposed to know her name?
She's like a big person. Now it's going to bother me.
It's fine. Leighton Meester, we'll get into that next week.
Yeah.
We'll know her name next week.
Minka Kelly.
Minka Kelly. I actually know that name. Okay, fair enough.
So I'm giving you The Roommate. I mean, kind of the slasher, but not necessarily.
Yeah. No, I remember when that was coming out.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then I decided to give you a comic book called Batman: The Long Halloween, which, if you're doing Batman, there's generally murders involved. This one's got a pretty good mystery in it, and it's called The Long Halloween. So what could be more appropriate? What more appropriate of a time than now?
Yeah. I am very excited for this week because we get to my favorite movie ever, Scream. I love the Scream series. I get to watch those. We get to see Halloween.
Yeah.
All of these.
I feel like we have watched Scream together, like the first one, I feel like twice already.
We watched the fourth one in Georgia.
We watched the fourth one. We went and saw the fifth one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was scary because
we watched the second one at one point. We did.
Probably. Oh, we built Lego. Didn't we build Lego and watch all the movies?
I don't think we
watched
watched
October.
We didn't watch the third one. We skipped the third one.
Because the third one's kind of like, you don't remember it really, you know?
I've only seen it once.
It's like,
well, I think the third one is worthy of being watched. If you're watching all the Scream movies,
who's the killers in the third one?
The killer in the third. Well, it's a spoiler.
Babe, these movies
We're
have
not
been
here
out
to
for
talk about that.
forever.
No, somebody might be like,
oh my gosh. If you haven't seen Scream, go watch it. Scream is like a classic.
And I don't want to spoil the killers in Scream. It's a really good twist.
It's never a twist. It's always so obvious who it is.
Not always.
It is.
Yeah. Well, I just think the first one they do a really good job at kind of like, who's what? Wait, like
the first one they try to
the movie's like gaslighting you.
Yeah. It's like we know you think it's this person. Is it that person though?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was literally on Etsy for like hours trying to find a Scream like sweatshirt or something that I can wear this Halloween, but I couldn't find anything that I really liked, and also some of them were like sketch. I was like, well, who's this? Like I like to have sellers that have like reviews. People show pictures of their thing, like the things that they've received.
I've made some questionable purchases.
Yeah.
From vendors that had really good pictures, but then the very low quality product.
It gets sketch when like different sellers use the same picture for like an
oh
item.
yeah, because then it's like that on Etsy all the time.
Yeah. I don't like that. So I didn't buy anything, but I would love if anyone knows of a store I can get like a cool Scream sweatshirt or something, or
like a hoodie or just like a pullover. What are you looking for?
I typically like pullovers more than hoodies.
Okay, so no hood, pullover, Scream. Yeah,
I want something embroidered.
Like we can make that.
I wanted a Stu.
Embroidered.
All
right, you're asking for a lot.
I wanted specifically a Stu shirt, and I wanted it to have the quote where he's like, "I'm feeling woozy over here."
Oh my gosh. You'll wear that like one time a year.
Oh no, I would wear that all the time because I love that.
All right.
I always say that.
Well, we're not even going to be talking about that movie next week.
I'm just really excited for it. I think I have it scheduled for tomorrow, honestly, as my movie.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, next week we're going to be talking about
The Roommate.
The Roommate and Batman the Long Halloween.
Yes. So you guys should watch those so you can be a part of the conversation as well.
Well, Batman the Long Halloween is a comic book, but there is a 2-part animated movie adaptation that was put out last year.
Yep.
I think both of those are on HBO Max, so you'll get the story from that. I don't know if I haven't watched them, so I don't know if it captures the essence of the comic book as well.
Or you can read the comic book.
But yeah, I mean, if you can get the comic book, within a week, if anybody's like, actively watching the things that we're talking about at a signing,
that'd be so cool.
I mean, if I was listening to this podcast, I would want to do that.
I'd be too lazy. I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Unless I would wait till after the episode came out and I'd be like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'm gonna go watch that.
You're right. Well, that's what we hope for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could just listen and that's fine. All right. Well, see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Did you go like that?
I went.
Weirdo.